Okay, I'm going to share something with you that I actually have been studying the book of Acts recently. And I actually came upon this meditation recently, like yesterday. And I really loved it. And somehow I felt it's very relevant for your trip and for your mission. So I'll share with you what it is. Like, I'm not just preparing that for you. No, I stumbled upon it, and I thought I actually shared it with the servants when shared it with the servants, and I think it's very appropriate for you guys. It's beautiful. Something that I've never meditated on before. Actually, it's part of the journey, the first journey of St. Paul. First or second? Anyways, it's the book of Acts, chapter 17. I'm actually going to go through 17 and 18. So you know the trip that St. Paul was going from one city to another? Okay. And back then, do you know what is the most important cities in Europe and Asia, or in the whole world, back then, during the time of St. Paul? Rome is number 1. And number 2?
Alexandria?
Athens. Very good. And number 3, Corinth. Okay. Corinth is like a big... it's like New York, okay, and like the trade and the ships going in and out and all of this, and of course Athens is the center of knowledge and philosophy in the whole world. Why we still associate science with Greek language? Because they invented the science, they made the science, they made the wisdom, the philosophy, everything. Now when you take a PhD, it's a doctorate of philosophy. You know what it means?
The first class of philosophy would be...
Absolutely. First class in knowledge, in the top in everything. Okay? Rome is the power, the muscles, and Athens is the brain. So of course, St. Paul didn't go Rome. Actually, he went Rome in the very end of his life. But Athens, he went in the beginning, So let me tell you the story of Athens and see what happened in Athens, okay? It's like you guys could have gone from one city to another. Okay, so if you open the book of Acts chapter 17, and if we go down to verse 15, St. Paul was going from one place to another. Okay? And then verse 15 says, so those who conducted Paul brought him to Athens. This is his very first time to come to Athens. And receiving a command from Silas and Timothy to come to him with all speed, they departed. You understand what it means? Okay, you're going to go first, but don't do anything. Just wait for us until we come. Because you know that St. Paul is is very enthusiastic. He could burn the city upside down. They could kill him. He could go and fiery kill him. He said, go, wait for Timothy and Silas until they come. Now while Paul waited for them at Athens, he can't just wait. He can't sit still. His spirit was provoked within him when he saw that the city was given over to idols. He was going around the city, and how are these idols, these smart people, how are they? Yeah, he was like fiery, okay? Couldn't wait. Of course, he didn't listen to them, and he started doing mission work, okay? And then he succeeded in doing something unbelievable, the biggest shot you could dream of. Go down to verse 22. Then Paul stood in the midst of the Areopagus. You know what's the Areopagus? Areopagus is the biggest stadium. These were the first people who did stadiums. Huge stadium that take thousands and thousands of people. So he got all the important people that love philosophy and, you know, like the big brains of the city, and all of them in the stadium. It's like these mega churches where they gather in the stadium, thousands of people, and his wonderful chance to preach the gospel. Amazing, huh? And then he started a very powerful sermon saying, Men of Athens, I perceive that in all things you are very religious, very smart, very diplomatic. For as I was passing through and considering the objects of your worship, I even found an altar with this inscription, to the unknown God. You saw something for the unknown God? So he said, okay, let me start from this that will catch their ears. Therefore, the one whom you worship without knowing him, I proclaim to you. God who made the world and everything in it, since he is Lord of heaven and earth, does not dwell in temples made with hands, nor is he worshipped with men's hands as though he needed anything, since he gives to all life, breath, and all things. And he goes on into his powerful sermon. What do you expect in the end? Take them to a pool and baptize all of them. Well, that didn't happen. Go down to verse 32. He kept on and on in his sermon. In verse 32 it says, And when they heard of the resurrection of the dead, some mocked, while others said, We will hear you again on this matter. So basically, they made fun of him. However, some men joined him and believed. Among them, Dionysius, the Areopagite, a woman named Damaris, and others with them. Success or failure? Big failure. Big failure. It's not simple. I could preach a sermon, and I get 2-3 people interested, that's not a difficult thing. But for St. Paul to give to these thousands of people powerful sermon like this, and he's like fiery and full of the Spirit, and just a few people follow him in a big city, and that's the first impression. Like if you lost the first impression, that's it. You know what he did after that? Go to chapter 18. After these things, Paul departed from Athens and went to Corinth. What did he do? Give up. That's not simple. Athens. You just lost Athens كده in no time. That's huge. So he went to Corinth. Corinth is even worse. Why? At least Athens, they have some values. They love philosophy. They like to hear something new. Basically, he preached, and you know what? You're wise, but you're actually foolish. It didn't make any sense. Anything you said, I can tell you like better things than what you just said. He tried, and he was very diplomatic. He went in from the right point. I'm preaching you the God that that you're searching, but zero results. I don't think ever in the entire ministry of St. Paul he never had this failure. This was miserable. And he went to Corinth. Corinth is even worse. Why? Corinth is the worst city in the world back then in sin and immorality. Like in order to call someone Corinthian is like huge. And it's like calling someone is a bad word. And the goddess of beauty that was there, there was 1,000 priestess. Their job is just to commit adultery with people who are visiting. And it's a big port, and people coming from all over the world and trade and things like this. So the city was like full of immorality. You know who are the two cities that were like the most immoral cities in the world back then? Corinth and Ephesus. Both of them. Because Ephesus had, the goddess Diana. Okay, Diana is also a goddess of beauty, and to worship is basically to sin. So these two cities were the worst. What are the strongest churches back then? Corinth and Ephesus. The epistle of Ephesus, is extremely deep. Talking to people, and they never had a problem. He's talking to people. Blessed be, the Lord, the God of our Father, who blessed us with every spiritual blessing in the heavenly places. What? And He made us to sit with Him in His throne. And, what is this? Like something really to people who are very, very high spiritual. And Corinth, from their problems, we understand their problems. Some people speaks in tongues, some people do miracles, some people prophecy, and this is their problem, and who's stronger than who, and it's easy like this. Everybody's speaking tongues. What is this? The most immoral city. They are full of the Spirit. They are holy people. That's the transformation. That's important. It's unbelievable. But when he went to Corinth, with what attitude did he go? Extreme sense of failure, fear, and basically because he spoke and no one listened, he said, I'm not going to say a word. Okay? I'll tell you where I get this from, okay? That's not my words. Open 1 Corinthians chapter 2. You're going to understand exactly what I mean. He's talking to them, and he's saying, and I, brethren, you got it? 1 Corinthians 2. And I, brethren, when I came to you, did not come with excellence of speech or of wisdom, declaring to you the testimony of God. For I determined not to know anything among you except Jesus Christ and Him crucified. Listen to this, I was with you in weakness, in fear. We've never heard that from St. Paul. He said God did not give us the spirit of fear, but the spirit of power, love, and a sound mind. He said, I'm coming in a spirit of weakness, in fear, and in much trembling. And my speech and my preaching were not with persuasive words of human wisdom. He got the lesson. Forget about human wisdom. Don't even open your mouth. He literally didn't say anything. He was really, really afraid. See what happened. But in demonstration of the spirit and of خلاص قال ما فيش wisdom of speech إنما في إيه the spirit يعني the power of the spirit basically, that your faith should not be in the wisdom of men but in the power of God. So he stopped the wisdom stopped at Athens. He left Athens. He said zero wisdom of man but the power of God and the message of the cross بقى the foolishness. قال لهم خلاص مش عارف. I'm not going to say anything in any wise words. Just going to put the message of the cross, Jesus crucified, this is salvation. Get it or leave it. No about persuasive words and and God loves you and this is the God and open your mind and here and He created this and He opened it. No. I'm not going to say any words of wisdom. Just going to give the message of the cross. هقول لكم حتى حصل ايه. Go to Go to verse 9 in that chapter 18, okay? Go back to Acts 18, in verse 9. It says, "Now the Lord spoke to Paul in a night by a vision." Why by God had to speak to him? Because he was silent. He didn't want to say a word. He didn't want to give a speech, a sermon. Okay, so what did he tell him? Do not be afraid, but speak. You know, someone, his job is to speak, okay, and he's not speaking. And he took it on to an extreme. So God, Paul, calm down. Okay, خلاص بقى. Do not be afraid, but speak. And do not keep silent. He was really silent. For I am with you, and no one will attack you to hurt you. For I have many people in this city. And he continued there 1 year and 6 months, teaching the word of God among them. Just start to open his mouth and talk. But talk in the wisdom of men? No. By the power of God. And he spoke only about one message, the message of the cross. That's it. He said, no wisdom of men. Go to chapter 19, verse 11. What does it say? Now God worked unusual miracles by the hands of Paul, so that even the handkerchiefs and aprons were brought from his body to the sick, and the diseases left them, and the evil spirit went out of them. A story of failure, of human wisdom, but continued by a story of success, but not based on any thoughts or wisdom of man, but really relying solely on the power of God and the wisdom of the cross. He learned a lesson. It was a hard lesson. But think about it. Of course, Athens believed later on, you know. But God had a bigger dream for Corinth. God didn't care much about Athens. People were not ready anyways. But God thought it's a wonderful chance to teach you a very strong lesson in Athens. So when he comes to Corinth, because with these people who are immoral, تعمل لهم ايه? What kind of wisdom are you going to teach them? How do you preach people like this? He is the power of God. And even the message of the gospel, it's irrelevant for them. Gospel يبدع الناس immersed in sin. You need someone. Bless you. You need someone who is extremely humble and maybe even broken. That's what we need. Someone down to earth, so he would put up with their sin and immorality and problems and all of this. Can you believe that even St. Paul needed to learn this lesson? We thought this is an elementary lesson, like it's, he should have known that. He spoke about that, he's a master at this. He knows what it means, the power of God. But I think none of us is like too experienced to learn this lesson. As long as we live, we're going to learn what it means to fail on ourselves, to learn what really means by the power of God. We're yet to learn that. What it means by the power of God and the wisdom of God, and not the wisdom of man. And to really seek it and to really use it like this is our power, not our experience, not anything we know. Even if we're in ministry for years and years and years, I was just telling them a failure story that I had today, the servants. I had a meeting here with them at 5 o'clock, okay? And no one here, like the family is not here. And I had like I was solving a marital problem. So the couple was there with me in the office like for 3 hours. I came late. I came with 15 people just waiting outside because I'm late with this couple who are fighting in my office. I said, I need these people out of my office right now. I didn't know what to do. I tried the wisdom that I have. I tried the experience of marriage that I have. I teach couples, I counsel couples. But you know, sometimes, failure. Nothing is communicating with their brains. So I really gave up. I said, that's it, I need these people out of here so I can go. But then I couldn't take them. Like they were screaming and it was really bad. So I got them out of my office and I took someone else just to calm myself. And then I prayed and I said, God, you will give me strength. And I have no wisdom. Alas, I don't know what to do. So they came in again and we prayed and everything went okay. But I think every single day in our life, we need to learn this message over and over and over again. That's it for you because you are way beyond sleeping. Haram, you're so tired. You guys are dead. It's recorded here. So tomorrow when you're awake, you can listen. لا حرام انتوا تعبانين قوي. You're really tired.